There are moments in life when the world tells you it's impossible, moments when the noise of doubt is louder than your own heartbeat, but let me tell you something, those very moments are the birthplace of greatness. I know what it feels like to be underestimated, to be told that the dream you're chasing is too big, too far, too unrealistic. And I also know what it feels like to keep moving forward when every part of you wants to stop. That is the spirit of being unstoppable. When I stepped onto the ice, I wasn't just competing against others. I was competing against fear, against failure, against the voice inside my head that whispered, "You can't." But every fall taught me how to rise stronger. Every scar reminded me that pain is temporary, but glory lasts forever. You see, being unstoppable is not about being perfect. It's not about never falling. It's about refusing to stay down. It's about choosing discipline when others choose comfort, choosing courage when others choose doubt. And here's why you must stay with me through this entire journey today, because what you will hear is not just my story, it's a roadmap for your own life. It's proof that no matter who you are, where you start, or how many times you stumble, you have the power to create a legacy that will outlive you. This is not just about skating. This is about life. About breaking barriers, about proving that the impossible is only an illusion until someone makes it possible. And today, I want you to see yourself as that someone. When I look back to where everything began, I remember a little girl who was not born with certainty, not born with the crown of greatness, but with a fire so fragile it could have easily been extinguished. That spark came from a dream so big it frightened me, yet it was the only thing that made my heart race. People often think legends are born, but the truth is, legends are made in silence, in sweat, in tears that nobody else sees. The world saw the stage, the medals, the victories, but before that there were long days of doubt. There were nights when I cried quietly, wondering if this dream was even mine to claim. There were voices around me telling me it was too difficult, that I should be realistic, that I should lower my aim, but in those moments I discovered something extraordinary. The spark within me refused to die. No matter how heavy the doubt, no matter how cold the fear, it kept burning. Every time I laced up my skates, I knew I was stepping into more than just a practice. I was stepping into a battle with myself. And in those battles, I realized the greatest victories do not happen under bright lights. They are won in the dark, when no one is watching, when giving up seems easier than going on. That is where the unstoppable spirit is born. The spark of an unstoppable queen is not about never doubting. It is about daring to continue even while doubting. It is about walking into the unknown, trembling but unbroken. And once you discover that spark, once you allow it to guide you, nothing and no one can take it away. It becomes your shield, your weapon, your hope. There were times when I felt completely alone, standing at the edge of my dream with no guarantee that the ground beneath me would hold. When you choose a path that few dare to walk, you must be prepared for the silence that comes with it. There is no crowd cheering in the beginning, no certainty that your sacrifice will be worth it. It is only you, your breath, your heartbeat, and the echo of your own determination. Courage is not found in the moments when everything feels safe. Courage is born in the moments when your knees are shaking, when the fear of failure weighs heavy on your shoulders, and still you take the step forward. That is what it means to stand alone. It is to look at the impossible and whisper to yourself, "I will try, even if I am afraid." I remember standing on the ice, looking at a vast arena that felt far too big for me, yet I knew I had to fill it with my presence. No one could skate the program for me. No one could carry the weight of my expectations. It was in those moments that I understood something vital. The journey to becoming unstoppable is not about waiting for someone else to push you. It is about having the courage to push yourself, even when no one believes in you. Yes, there were days when doubt surrounded me like shadows, but every step I took alone taught me strength. Every lonely practice carved resilience into my soul. Standing alone does not mean you are weak. It means you are brave enough to carry your dream even when the world refuses to carry it with you. and that bravery becomes the foundation upon which everything else is built. Talent alone is never enough. People often admire the stage, the spotlight, the flawless performance, and they call it a gift. But what they don't see is the truth hidden behind that illusion. Talent may give you a beginning, but it is discipline that writes your destiny. Discipline is the reason I woke up when the world was still asleep. Discipline is the reason I trained when my body screamed for rest. There were countless days when the ice felt like my enemy, when every routine ended with failure, when exhaustion made my legs feel like they could no longer move. In those moments, talent could not save me, only discipline. The choice to show up again and again kept me alive in the pursuit of greatness. Discipline is not glamorous. It is quiet, lonely, and often thankless. But it is in that silence that champions are built. Every spin, every jump, every routine that looked effortless on stage was the result of endless hours of repetition. Sometimes the same move over and over, until my body carried it like a second heartbeat. And the more I practiced, the more I understood. Greatness is never the product of luck, but of consistency. You do not rise by doing what is easy. You rise by doing what others refuse to do. There will always be people more talented, more gifted, more naturally skilled. But discipline levels the ground. Discipline sharpens what talent cannot. It takes an ordinary person and turns them into something extraordinary. And that is why, when I stood in the spotlight, I did not thank talent. I thanked the countless hours, the relentless effort, the moments I chose discipline over comfort. Because in the end, it is not talent that makes you unstoppable. It is the courage to train when no one is watching, the persistence to repeat when others give up, and the discipline to keep going long after the spark of motivation fades. Failure was never a stranger to me. I fell more times than I can count on the ice and in life. Each fall was painful, not just to the body but to the spirit. The sting of failure has a way of whispering in your ear that maybe you are not enough, maybe you should stop trying, maybe this dream was never meant for you. But every time I hit the ground, something inside me refused to stay there. Falling is not the opposite of success, it is the foundation of it. Every bruise, every scar, every tear carried a lesson that no victory could ever teach. I learned that failure does not mean defeat. It means you are still in the fight. It means you are daring enough to attempt what others are too afraid to try, and with every fall, I discovered strength I never knew I had. There were competitions where the world expected perfection, but instead, they saw me stumble. The weight of disappointment was crushing. Yet, in those moments, I realized that the true test was not in landing every jump flawlessly, but in the choice to rise again, to step back onto the ice, to face the same challenge with even greater courage. That is where resilience is born. The truth is, the world doesn't remember you for how many times you fell. They remember you for how many times you stood back up. Each fall gave me the fire to rise higher, to push harder, to prove to myself that I was stronger than my setbacks. Failure became my greatest teacher, showing me that pain is temporary, but growth is eternal. And so every time I fell, I wasn't breaking. I was building resilience, building courage, building the unstoppable spirit that would carry me forward no matter how heavy the obstacles became. When I finally began to rise above the falls, I realized something greater was unfolding. What started as a personal dream slowly became a source of inspiration for others. The ice was no longer just my stage, it became a mirror for countless people who saw their own struggles reflected in my journey. I was not only skating for myself anymore, I was skating for everyone who needed proof that perseverance could lead to triumph. There were moments when the weight of expectation felt almost unbearable. An entire nation placed its hopes on my shoulders, and the world was watching every move I made. That kind of pressure could have broken me, but instead it reminded me of why I started. I was not just chasing medals, I was carrying the spirit of those who believed in me, and with every performance I wanted to show that strength and grace could exist together, that resilience could shine brighter than fear. The energy from the crowd, the pride of my country, the eyes of the world, all of it became fuel. It wasn't about perfection, it was about connection. Every jump, every spin, every glide across the ice was my way of saying, you too can rise, you too can overcome. Because when we push past our own limits, we give others permission to do the same. In those moments, I understood that being unstoppable is not just a personal victory. It is a gift you give to others. It is the ripple effect of courage that inspires someone else to stand taller, to dream bigger, to fight harder. That is the true meaning of legacy. Not the medals, not the titles, but the hearts you touch and the lives you change along the way. And yet, even with the love, the pride, and the recognition, I came to see something even more powerful, that my journey was never just about me. It was about proving that limits are illusions, walls that only exist until someone dares to break through them. I was just a girl with a dream, no different than anyone else, and if I could transform doubt into destiny, then so can you. Greatness is not reserved for the chosen few. It is born in ordinary hearts that choose to fight for something extraordinary. When people told me it was impossible, I used that word as fuel. When I stumbled, I used the pain as momentum, and when fear tried to silence me, I answered with action. That is what it means to live without limits, not because obstacles disappear, but because you decide they will not define you. The truth is, every one of you has an arena. Maybe it is not covered in ice or lit by spotlights, but it is where your courage is tested, where your resilience is demanded, where your dream calls you to rise. And in that arena you have the same choice I had, to surrender to fear or to become unstoppable. What I discovered is that the crown of being unstoppable is not given, it is earned. It is carved into you through discipline, sharpened by failure, strengthened by courage, and illuminated by the lives you inspire along the way. That is why your story matters, because when you rise, others rise with you. So do not look at me as someone untouchable. Look at me as a reflection of what is possible when you refuse to give up, when you refuse to believe in limits. The unstoppable spirit lives within you, waiting for the moment you decide to set it free.